So Samad, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Cathy from Microsoft for Startups, and we are delighted to have you in the Highway to 100 Unicorns program, which sets out to unearth the next huge thing in the startups ecosystem. It's probably, in fact, it's definitely best if you take us through what your startup, Greeho, does.
Sure. Thanks, Cathy. It's really great to talk to you and be part of the program. We've been enjoying it so far. Actually, Greeho is a property technology company currently operating in Bangladesh. So we are focusing on frontier markets, and particularly Bangladesh right now, to use technology to lower the friction and transaction costs for people looking to buy or rent homes. Uh, the center of Greeho's philosophy is how do we enable affordability of housing using technology? So whether that's making discovery easier and lowering the friction there, or offering products down the line for installment payments and going into the fintech angle down the line. It's currently working in a market that is extremely opaque data wise. So the first stop is to try and reduce friction and transaction costs by providing transparency and allowing people to understand what the market pricing is, what the inventory is, give them a wider lens to make a purchase that is probably the largest purchase they're ever going to make in their lifetimes.
Yeah. Well, I guess anybody tuning in from Australia and specifically Sydney would be well and truly across the challenges and some impossibilities actually of buying a house, finding a rental property. Have you sort of identified any markets or countries that you have eyes to expand into?
Yeah, I think today we're really focused here. We're very early stage. We're a population of about 180 million people, and with the size of Iowa or Florida, whatever context you can kind of figure that out. So it's the half of the population of the United States in a very small geography. So housing is a problem. We're very dense. Land is scarce, and so I think we've got a long ways to go to solving the problem here. It's an extremely opaque market. Things are very unstructured. We don't have real estate licensed agents. We don't have a central digitized registry for land. So there's a lot of problems to solve here. That being said, I think that if we're able to really crack um, the problem in Bangladesh, similar markets are definitely on the radar, likely other frontier markets in the region and possibly Africa as well.
Well, that covers my question about, I guess, the challenges that you're facing, um, but leads into another one I have, which is in this program with Microsoft. Do you see any of those challenges that you think you'll be able to address whilst you're participating in the Unicorns program?
Absolutely. So we've had a couple of chats. I think my technical team has really appreciated some of the deep dives. We are moving to Azure. We're in the process right now, and some of the tools that we're kind of availing are really great because right now we're really taking a data first approach. So things like Power BI and some of the cloud services are very helpful. And I think the mentorship that we've got from some of the technical team has been really great for how we can use those tools and leverage data for market transparency. Beyond that, I think just business mentors have been offered as well. We haven't gotten to connect yet, but I think that other people that use the frameworks in property technologies in other countries and regions would be really great to speak to them. As I mentioned, we don't have real estate agents or licensed real estate agents here, so understanding how those operate and how those best practices work in other markets will also be a really big benefit. And we've actually reached out to some of the program coordinators to connect us So I'm looking forward to what's to come from the program.
I have to take my hat off to you because as we're talking and you're describing all of the different avenues that you've gone down and made sure that you've turned over all these stones, it's such an amazing precursor to a startup doing really well that you're just absolutely figuring out what's available to you and how it fit into your journey. When you're making key technology decisions, what are your criteria?
Really, how does it help our user, right? How can we leverage technology to make their journey more valuable or easier? At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for us. Are we using technology for the sake of it, to say something sexy, or are we actually trying to solve a problem or make the life of a user's journey easier? And I think that's really what it comes down to for us.
Well, it's interesting to say that before we started recording this interview, one of the problems that you very quickly overcame that not many people do is how to get a background working. And your answer to how you did that was to utilize what was at your fingertips technology-wise and bring them together to get the best result. And I think that that's such a simple, clean, user-centric attitude and a really, really important one when you're running and starting a startup. So you actually launched in the middle of COVID, right?
We did,
Or
yes.
at the
Yeah.
beginning of it. How did that affect you, or did that actually spring you into action?
Both. So it sprung us into action because if this virus was worse, and it was bad, but if it was worse, a place like Bangladesh would have been really affected because shelter in place mandates just wouldn't have been able to be possible in a dense country like this, right? If the viral coefficient was more fatal, we would have really, really suffered here. So that's where I kind of got to this place of housing. How do we get people um, dignified, affordable housing, and what are the ways that we can use technology to do this? And what we first started off with was kind of a hybrid model, also providing services for people that couldn't get them during COVID, plumbing or servicing of appliances, et cetera, et cetera. And because of COVID, we pivoted several times um, to a more, let's say, technology slash operational kind of view where let's really try and focus on the problem, getting people into homes um, that they ought to be able to afford, um, and let's do it easier than it really takes.
Um, if there's any key trends that you're seeing in the market and how Greeho is addressing them, what would they be?
I think that people are generally starting to look online, price comparison, shopping, and things like that online. What we really need to see is people trusting transacting online a little bit better. I think we're seeing it on microtransactions or even mid-scale transactions. How do we get that uh, end-to-end transaction to happen for a big ticket item? You know, say a car first, and then a house. So we are definitely seeing it on, say, your computer or maybe even a home appliance, and that's a good trend. So um, people are getting used to the process, and eventually they'll make it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's as long as there are people, there are going to need to be houses and shelters for them that suit their that suit their situation. And in every single country and region, there's a different issue with housing, whether it's too expensive, whether it's not enough, whether it's unavailable. So it will be so interesting to see where you go. And how the road shifts and turns, but I feel super confident that you'll be ready for anything that it throws at you.
Thanks, Cathy.
And
Actually, the fun thing is that in a place like Bangladesh, for a problem solver, it's kind of your game, because all those problems you listed, we've got them here. So we just have to pick one and go for it.
amazing. So by the time you roll it out to the world, you'll have kind of ticked every box and gone, thought of it, thought of it, thought of it. Can I ask where the name Greeho comes from?
Yeah, it's actually a local. It's a local word. It means home.
Ah, lovely. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us home on a great interview. It's so fantastic to meet you, to hear what you're all about, and we look forward to checking in again closer to the end of the program and see what you've been able to achieve, because we are here just to, I guess, support you, but you guys are the rock stars, figuring everything out and making magic just on our platform. So it's a real delight to house you. And uh, it's until next time.
Thanks very much, Cathy. Nice to chat.
Thanks, Samad. See you.
Bye.